Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking the long and winding road through this puzzle on the screen, which is called Record Highs. And it's by, I think this is a debut for this constructor. It's a constructor called ViKingPrime. And an amazingly short rule set today, which is a rarity in and of itself. But what's also a rarity is that I am told this puzzle is almost genuinely approachable, which is a real, I suppose, feather in the cap of ViKingPrime, because nowadays it's harder than ever to have your puzzle appear on Cracking the Cryptic. We get 20, sometimes 30 recommendations or submissions a day, and you'll know if you watch the channel, some of the sudokus are incredibly clever, and therefore to achieve what ViKingPrime has apparently done and to create something interesting enough, yet with only gas level difficulty to appear on the channel, is an absolutely brilliant feat. So well done, ViKingPrime. I'm hoping I will do it justice and be able to solve it, but I will read you the rules in a moment. I think this is part of a rule set known as Möbius, for reasons that will hopefully become obvious. The Möbius strip, of course, is something that only a 3D shape that only has one edge. What will they think of next? No Klein bottles, thank you very much. What do I have to tell you about? Not much today, actually. I've got a few birthdays to do. Let's start off with AJ, who's turned 16 today. Actually, the birthdays we've got today, they're all interesting birthdays, in the sense that AJ 16 is obviously a very important age, and your dad Wayne wrote to us, AJ. Now, Wayne is the person behind this stuff, the Cracking the Cryptic statistics pages, which some of you may be aware of. I mean, I was having a look at this earlier. It's really, really amazing. There have been a lot of videos, as you can see. The total time that Mark and I have spent solving puzzles in videos is 17 days, 19 minutes. I'm actually a bit surprised it isn't more than that. We have said R 7,231 times at an average of 6.5 times per video. We've said sorry nearly 5,000 times. We say sorry on average 4 times a video. That is appalling, isn't it? I mean, we must be some of the most penitent people on earth. We've said bye sudoku a lot of times. Things have been obvious to us only 2,500 times. And then there are some statistics about the colours that we've used. Apparently we use green the most often. I guess that's because it sort of has multiple uses in things like yin-yang puzzles. There is some more stuff down here I was looking at. We've used 4 the most times. Why would that be? And the most used non-sudoku number is apparently 10, which has appeared more than 3 times more often than the next most popular non-sudoku number, which is 12. Anyway, so Wayne, thank you very much for keeping this going. Evens triumphing over odds, apparently. There's all sorts of stuff. I'll try and remember to put a link to Wayne's website under this puzzle, so you can all peruse this to your heart's content and find out some of the odd things we've apparently done over the years. But next birthday, Paul, you've turned 50, the big 50 today. And I know this because your husband Michael wrote to us. So Paul, I hope you're able to celebrate with the requisite amount of chocolate cake. And then Robbie has turned 18 today. So we've had a 16, a 50 and an 18 today. And then finally Tyler, you've turned 12 today. And I know this because your dad Chris wrote to us. And I know Chris turns 54 tomorrow. So you've sort of got a white crop key dot between your birthday days, and that's fine. And I hope Tyler and Chris, you can have a suitable celebration. And the only other thing to mention is I've got more correct solvers of the Glum Hippo Sudoku Hunt, which is our February reward on Patreon. Very well done to the following: Jeffrey C. Began, Dario Siriani, Dennis Ocken, Dan Harrell, Filippo Chona, Matthew Buckley, Callum Miller. Oh no, Callum Mailer. I'm sorry, Callum. Micah Turvey, Osher Lerner, Claude Petrie, Ryan, no surname, just Ryan, Michael Nazarchuk, Tammy Payne, Ferdinand Stamm, Natalie Girard, and Nora Hamacha. All of you sent in the correct entry. Very well done. And it's only a few days now until the new Sudoku hunt, which is coming on the 1st of March. So get prepared for that. Sharpen your pencils and maybe practice by completing record highs by ViKingPrime. These are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, which means we have to put the numbers 1 to 9 in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box without repeating a digit. Along thermometers, digits must increase from the bulb end. There is a however to this, but let's have a look at this now. Let's imagine this square here was a 2. This square here would have to be higher than 2. So like Mercury, the digits must rise as we move up a thermometer. However, in this puzzle, the digit 1 may be considered as having the value of 1 or 10. So the normal rules of thermometers, things like 1 can only appear in the bulb of a thermometer, that is thrown out of the window, because if 1 is on a thermometer, it could be at the very tip, because it will count as higher than any other digit. So we could put a 1 there, for example, and it would count as 10, and then we could have 9s. Well, we could have a 9 there, which would be a very strange thing to do indeed, but in this puzzle, that is what we're allowed to do, because we are achieving a record high. And also, I guess the idea with the Möbius idea of the rules is that 1 has sort of cycled round, hasn't it? And it has achieved, it's popped up on the other end of the sequence to where it would normally be expected to be. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking, and I can see where to start this. Because column 3 and column 7 look to me to be, well, in normal thermoland, these columns would be absolutely broken, because of course we'd have to put the digits 1 to 9 along these thermometers, and because we have to increase digits, that's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but so would this one be, and we get repeated digits. We get 2 1s there, 2 2s there, but here, the way we're going to escape that is we're allowed to put a 1 counting for a 10 at one end of the thermo. So one of these digits is going to have to be a 1, and one of these digits is going to have to be a 1, and that creates, look, a little X-wing straight away. What's that? What do I mean by an X-wing? Well, what I mean is in the finished solution to the puzzle, we're either going to have 1s in those 2 positions, creating sort of, I'm not going to be able to do this, but sort of that sort of pattern, that limb of an X, or we're going to have 1s in those 2 positions, creating, didn't mean to do that, I wanted to put in a green line, sort of this limb of an X, something like that. So we're going to have one of those 2 things applying. That is a particularly poor effort at an X, isn't it? Let's unwind all that. But what that means, of course, I say of course, but if you're new to variant Sudoku, you might not know this, is because there is always going to be a 1 in one of those 2 positions, therefore, and a 1 in one of those 2 positions, we can't have any more 1s in any of those cells. Because if we did, we'd get a repeated 1 in either row 1 or row 9. Now, so that means, for example, it means that can't be a 1. That's going to be, well, no, oh yeah, that is the point. That is totally the point. Okay, so where does 1 go in column 5? It can't go there, because if it did, let me show you. If we put 1 there, where do we have to put the 1s in columns 3 and 7? We have to put both 1s there. That's going to break the rules of Sudoku. So 1 is not here. 1 can't go anywhere else on this thermo unless it counts as a 10 and goes in the tip. And 1 can't go here in column 5 because that's going to put 2 1s at the top of the thermos instead, and that's also going to break the rules of Sudoku. So we have to put 1 counting as 10 here, which is perhaps, well, the temptation now is to put, well, okay, so where does 9 go in column 5? That's a slightly interesting question. We know if 9 is on the thermo, the only place it could sit is just underneath the 1 counting as 10. So we could put 9 there. We couldn't put it here because then this digit would have to be a 9.5 and this would have to be 9 3/4, and that's just silly. So 9 is either there or there in column 5. It must be in one of those two positions. But I think what we need to do is work a bit harder on the thermos in columns 3 and 7, because one of these is going to be a totally sort of natural consecutive thermo, which is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the other, let's just think about the other, because the other is going to have a 10 at the top of it, and we're going to have to put a 2 on this thermo, aren't we? Because we have to put every number on the thermo because it takes the whole column. Where's the 2 going to go? Well, the 2 is going to basically become the new 1. 2 is going to be the new 1 and sit in the bulb, and then 3 is going to... So we're going to get a thermo that looks like that, aren't we? In one of these positions. And then on the other position, we're going to get a natural thermo like this. Now, that's interesting in and of itself, because all of a sudden we can see... well, we can see that in this row, for example, that's got to be a 2-3 pair. In this row, that's got to be a 3-4 pair. In this row, this has got to be a 4-5 pair, etc. So we're actually going to be able to reduce all of these cells to pencil marks that are actually not too onerous either. So we've got a 1-9 pair at the top, which means we've got a 1-2 pair at the bottom, so we can get rid of the corner pencil marks, I think, and take another stare at the puzzle and see whether we can spot something else useful to do. We could... Well, 2 in column 5... Yeah, that's it, isn't it? So 2 in column 5 was the next thought I was having, because I could see that if 2 went on the thermo, it would have to be in the bulb. But if 2 was not on the thermo in column 5, where would it go? It would go there, where it can't go, because we have a 1-2 pair. So 2 must go here. So 2... You nearly... So, oh no, it's fine, it's fine. Where does 2 go in box 8? It can't go there by Sudoku. We've got a 2-3 pair there, so it can't go there. It can't go halfway up a thermometer, because then we can't put lower digits here. And it can't go there, because that would imply these digits all have to be lower than 2, and that's not going to work. So 2 goes in that bulb, which is not actually... That's underwhelming, isn't it? Because this bulb now... or this thermometer, all we know is it's got a very low starting point. Okay, so we have to think a bit harder again. What about... where do you think? Where's the... Okay, maybe 2 in box 5 by Sudoku. It can't go there. If it was here... we could go 1, 0. That's not going to work. Yes, okay. 2 in box 5 is just placed then. So this digit has to be a 1, because it needs to be lower than 2. Oh, that's lovely. Okay, I was about to say I've broken the puzzle. I have not broken the puzzle. I was thinking I had to put a 1 along this thermometer. Of course, it must therefore count as 10. So that is a 1. So in box 4 now, where does 1 go? And the answer to that is it can't go halfway up a thermometer, because it's going to count as 1 or 10. And if it's halfway up the thermometer, it's going to give a problem on one side or the other. If we make this a 1, either this has to be an 11, and that's just totally ludicrous, or this has to be a 0, and that's totally ludicrous. So 1 must be in a bulb, which means 1... which means 1 can be placed in box 6, because again, by that logic, it can't be halfway along a thermometer, so it must be in the tip of this thermometer. Right, so one in this box now is slightly restricted, I want to say. Because it's either... It can't be partially along a thermometer. Oh, this is great. No, this is the key. This is the whole key. Look, 1 is in one of those two positions. Because it's counting as 10 wherever it lives in box 3. And therefore, it's knocking 1 out of this square, which means this is the 9, which means that's the natural thermometer. Which means this is the unnatural thermometer over on this side. This is the top heavy thermometer. That's almost a good way of doing it, to put a 0 in the top of it. So that's rather cool. We've now got a 1 in one of those squares. We've got a 9 in one of these squares by Sudoku. Well, we can't put 9, even in this weird world. We can't put 9 halfway along that big long thermometer. So that's a 9. 9 is now in one of those two cells, which is actually fine, I think. That looks relatively sensible, doesn't it? Okay. What about 2 in this box? Is that somehow restricted? It's so... I can't tell you how strange it is to me to be considering putting a 2 beneath a 1 on a thermometer. If this was a 2, that would have to be a 1, wouldn't it? So that doesn't work. So the 2 is in one of 2 places, which means the 2 is in... Okay, so the 2 is in one of 2 places in box 4, and wherever the 2 lives, it will have a 1 underneath it. Because obviously we're going to have to create a normal... Well, we're going to have to create a valid structure. So if 2 is halfway up a thermo, it's going to have a lower digit beneath it, and the only lower digit is the 1. So there's either a 2-1 pair here or a 2-1 pair here, which might be useful or interesting to know. 8 by Sudoku is in one of these squares. 3 by Sudoku is in one of these squares. This thermo looks totally broken. Okay, so now we might be getting to the point where it's getting trickier. Let me think about this. So what else can we say here? 5. There we go. That's just a 5 by Sudoku. So that's 4, that's 3. Because this thermo has to be sort of sensible between the 5 and the 2. Wow, that doesn't actually do very much though, does it? 3 and 4 now. So 4 is in one of those 2 positions. Is that okay? If 4 was here? Yeah, that would be a 3. Is that okay? I think that probably is okay. If 4 was here, that thermo's natural, so that's okay. And that would force that to be a 9, which is probably all right. Oh, that's a thought. Where does 9 go in this box? Because now that the 1 is on the bulb in box 4, the 9 must take its normal position along a thermo, so the 9 must be in the tip of a thermo, which apparently doesn't do anything. Oh no, it does. So in this box now, where does 9 go? Now 9 is either in the tip of a thermometer, or it's just underneath a 1, isn't it, along a thermometer? And the 1 here is counting as 10, and that can't be a 9. So that, I think, by that logic, is a 9, which means this is a 2. 9 is living somewhere down here, or I haven't been looking for 3s in corners. I haven't got any 3s in corners, so I haven't missed the opportunity to sing anything. Oh, bar humbug, what does this mean? Does that 2 do anything? Almost. It gives me a 2 in one of those cells. These squares have got to be, I want to say 3, 4 and 8. So I can't put 8 there, and I can't put 3 there. So these 2 cells are a little bit restricted. No, I've got a 4 pencil mark in one of those squares. So that is a 3. That's a 4, 8 pair. 3 is in one of 2 places in box. Oh, Oh, okay. 3's in one of 2 places in box 5, and that means those 2 squares are a 3-9 pair. And that means one of these thermos is now 3, 2, 1, because we'd worked out there was a 2 on top of a 1, and now with a 3 in the 3rd position on a thermo, that's going to have 2 and 1 beneath it. Okay, so one of these thermos is 3, 2, 1, the other one is 9, 8, 7, look, because 6, 5, 4 have already appeared. This is gorgeous. So now this is a 2, 8 pair, this is a 1, 7 pair. Now we don't know the order of any of these, at least I don't think we do. But we can now pencil mark these digits. Look, we've got to put... Yeah, the 9 here is also doing some work, isn't it? So 9 goes there, 4 goes here, 7 goes in the middle of the grid. Oopsie. So 2, 3, 4. This has got to be higher than 7, but can't be 9. So that's got to be 8. That's got to be 9. The digit we've missed off this thermo is a 6, believe it or not. We can put a 6 at the bottom. These 2 squares have got to be things. that shows you the calculation speed of my brain there. Things that I couldn't calculate. Oh, well, that's not a 3, because that's too high along a thermometer, even with strange Möbius rules, to be a 3. So the 3 goes that way round. The 6 here, with 1 and 2 not being allowed here, this has just got to be natural, hasn't it? 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. This is now 7 and 8. So these squares at the top are 5 and 6, and the 8 moves over to this position, which means that's got to be a 7, which means there's a 7 in one of those 2 cells. Oh, this is getting exciting now. Come on. Come on, how do we finish this off? I'm not sure. That can't be set. Oh no, that can be 7. I don't know why. For some reason in my brain, I converted this to being a bulb, and I was like, well, that can't be an 8-9 pair, because 8 and 9 are here. But that's what this puzzle does to you. It breaks your brain. What about... 4 lives in one of those squares. Are either of these squares difficult? Oh, I see. Hang on. One of these is 7, 8, 9. So if it was that one, that would be 7, 8, 9. So there's sort of a striping effect here. If that's 7, 8, 9, that will be 7, 8, 9. And if that's 7, 8, 9, that will be 7, 8, 9. And we've also got to deal with 4, 5, and 6. So if this was 4, that would be 5, and that would be 6. Okay. If that was 4, 5, 6, this would be 7, 8, 9. 9. No, 9 could go anywhere. That can't be 9. I have a feeling I'm meant to be able to do something with this. Perhaps that square's restricted by sudoku. Look, it can't be 2, 3, and it can't be 1, 4, so that's only able to be 5 or 6. And if it's 6, that's going to be at least 8. Right, so that's it. That's 5, 6, 7. That gives us these digits, 6 and 5. One of these is now 5. What are we missing down here? 2, 3... Oh, 2, 3, and 4. Well, that's still useful. I don't know if we know the order, but we do now know that this is 8 and this is 4, which means down here we need 1, 8, and 9. We can place the 1. We get an 8, 9 pair at the bottom of the column. This is 5, 6, and 7. This is sort of a delightful change of pace for me from some of the puzzles I have to deal with, I have to say. 6, 7, and 8 over here. Now, surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what they're at. It's and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Hang on. This, I feel like that must resolve things now. So I know that there's an 8 in one of these positions. But if the 8 was here, I feel that that's breaking the world, isn't it? Because didn't we work out that one of these was 4, 5, 6, and one of these was 7, 8, 9? I think we did. So if the 8 is there, the thermometer cannot work with either of those combinations, because if the 8's here, we know that this is the 7, 8, 9 combination, and we're going to have a thermometer that doesn't work. So I think the 8 has to be there, which means this is now 9 because it can't be 1, and that is 7, and that is 4, and that is 5, and that is 6, which means this is 1, 2, 3, which means this is 9, 8, 7, which means this is 4, 5, 6. So the 5 goes there, the 4 goes here, the 6 goes there. That becomes 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes, and that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Beautiful stuff here. And now that becomes a 7, which means that's a 5 and that's a 6. And I just have to do the 9s and the 8s to finish the puzzle. There we go. Bingo. Boom. Absolutely beautiful. That was lovely, wasn't it? Just lovely. Just, you know, there's a fairly obvious start, but it still requires you to have to sort of think about it and understand, you know, how the 1 gets positioned. And then we just had to work out how it interfered with this thermo, and then it was sort of working on these banks in boxes 4 and 6 to finish the puzzle off. But that was very enjoyable indeed, ViKingPrime. What a lovely debut. A record high indeed. And let me know in the comments how you got on. Let me know if you enjoyed the puzzle too. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.